Why retro game stores rip people off?
Calling us out.
So
Yes, and you're involved in this conversation now.
so we can put this away. So the big topic with this and why I wanted to say that is, obviously friends with a couple guys in here who run game stores, and we've been around game stores forever. And, one of the biggest memes of all time is take it into GameStop and get 2 cents. But the reality is you post a lot of what you do on the internet in your store. So people come at you in the comments. I've seen it. Wow, what a ripoff, Rick. I can't believe you paid 50% of value. What these people don't understand, you can go into is employees. Paying people salaries, paying the light bill, paying to have the rugs cleaned.
People have
electricity.
No idea.
So tell us. Dive into it. Go deep with me, baby. I want to hear this from deep.
And also, too, like this is an interesting thing that we're talking about, too, because it's like we are posting. Like, and people say that in some of my videos, I won't say exactly what we're paying. There's no making anybody happy. Like I'm telling you, if we paid 78%, people still wouldn't be happy.
If you paid 100%, you might not even make people happy.
Yeah,
people are just not going to be happy.
Because if I posted it on this part of eBay and this part of the world in the time zone, I could get this much for it.
Yeah. So yes, people don't like kind of we talked about in a previous topic is the process of getting said item from into the store into processed all the way into the store. You just don't understand it until you actually have a physical brick and mortar. From every aspect of the fees it costs to run something is wild. Like every person we have on our team is salary on our.
So what are some other expenses that go into it, right? Like you're already 50%, so that's already 50%. Now lay out some of those expenses.
And I will say this too. We do a lot of 50% on like higher price stuff, but like cheaper stuff, I don't want it. Like $10 games, $15 games. Yeah, we were
talking about that earlier.
I have a storage unit completely filled with that stuff that I don't even know how to get rid of right now. So like even that stuff is lower. It's even lower if you want to run a successful business.
Yeah.
Like if you're paying more than 50% for things, you're not going to have a business.
Because a lot of those things you're never going to sell.
Yeah.
Like if you're taking in, like you said, you had like 35 Cabela's
right.
hunts or whatever, one of those games. Like you're never going to sell through those.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff we buy will sell ever. But for me, like I never feel like we're ripping people off. Like if people come into the store and they're happy leaving with the price, then it's a win-win. You can always say no, first of all, to what we offer. Nobody's forcing
you're not holding them up.
No,
like,
nobody's
you're giving me that price,
you.
bro.
Right. So you're offered the price that we can pay. The way I've felt over the years of doing it for 12 years now is that we offer a service. The service that we offer as a game store is you have a large quantity of stuff. Like you said, people come in with tubs.
Yep.
The amount of time to take that, list it online. If you want to do it yourself, take it, list it online, sell it, which you certainly can do. You have to wait to sell all that stuff. So there's a time factor involved. Yeah. There's the cleaning of it. There's the returns. There's the shipping. It's a lot of work. The service that we offer as a game store is, here's my stuff. You'll give me $200. Adios, bye, done.
I deal with the crap.
And we then have to take that and process it. And there's the time, selling all of that stuff.
Yeah, so we're not one individual doing it too. Like there's multiple.
You're paying multiple people at multiple levels to do multiple things. Well, I know it sounds dumb. They use your restroom, which uses your water bill. They turn on the lights, which uses your electricity bill. They dirty the rugs that Syntax has to come and change out.
Right.
And these are all things that I don't think people put into perspective, and it blows my mind when I see.
They see $10,000. You paid $5,000. You're going to make $5,000. It's like,
not even close.
That is wild to think that.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of the stuff we'll put on eBay ourselves, and then or whatnot or something, and then like they're getting 15%. Then I pay my whatnot guy 15%. So I'm already in 30%. I'm already in. There's maybe 20% there of something to even make, and I'm like, people just don't understand business.
Yeah.
And people that are saying that literally don't understand how business works.
It's so hard to say too when you're on YouTube because our goal has we've always been like, let's not be disrespectful to the community.
Right.
But there's some comments that come through sometimes where in the nicest way possible, you're like, how do you think that? Like I almost like certain things like you said, how do you truly think him paying 50%, he's going to make that other 50%. Like when you see a store behind him, when you see employees behind him, when you see lights on behind him.
Yeah, you almost can't even speak. You're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Aaron or I was telling Chris, like, the amount we've spent on trades, the outgo. I'm like, it's scary sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have spent this much. Like last month, we spent over $100K in trade-ins, like just in trade-ins, and then you have 4 or 5 salaries, and then again, everything else you're talking about, like to run it, it's like, dude,
And so, in being in business, running a store, obviously, like, or running any business, you're in business to make money, right? There has to be a profit aspect
Else
to
you're
it.
literally wasting time.
So there's a rule of thirds that is a good rule. It applies not to just video game stores. It really applies to most stores, whether you're selling any type of goods. You pay a third for your product, you have a third as overhead, and you have a third for profit. And that's the magic number. So if you're even Walmart and you have to sell something for $10, they're typically buying something at a third of the price, wholesale, that they can make. Although they might have really small margins, but that's really where they're operating within. Especially for us. I don't know. That's what I find.
Yeah.
I always like the people who get angry, like, well, what did you pay? And it's funny. I'm like, when you go to Target, do you like go to the cashier and like, before I buy this, I got to know what Target paid for this product. Like,
No, you would never ask that.
Why are you asking?
You would never ask.
Well, you paid $7. I should only have to pay $7. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. You're gonna do well in life, man. You know.
I think what people don't really like consider is when the market changes as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the
That's a great
fluctuation
point.
on your guys' games. This game could be high at one point, and then 1 month later, there's half your value.
Have
gone.
you guys experienced that? Like, where,
Oh, very much so. We're
sure
constantly repricing our stuff, and there's a lot of times where we
Both
bought
ways.
games
Yeah.
way above value, and then the market drops, and now I'm like, well, we paid way over market
Crap,
for that.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and then sometimes the market goes up. There's so many nuances that you have to, like you said, you've got to give yourself literal margin for those nuances to occur.
because you don't know when they're gonna hit.
Yeah, you don't know. If I'm being completely honest, even with the store, we don't even know how profitable it is even 6 months in. We have a lot of outgo. We have a lot of new product coming in, and our sales are great. But we're still trying to figure out, even with our
What's
new
our profit?
POS, like my general manager is always like, Rick, I might need you to hold off on buying. Like, I don't know how profitable we are. Like, because we give the most. Like, the nearest game store to us gives, like, I think 28%. But they're not filming it, and they're not putting it on YouTube. They'd be getting eaten alive, right?
Yeah.
But it's like we are way the delta between us and game store A is like we're giving almost double.
That's such an
Which is
interesting
probably
point,
too much,
too.
to be honest.
A lot of people will give you like hate for that, or let's use Phoenix Resale for example.
Because we're filming it. We're putting it on the
filming
yes.
it. These other people wouldn't have the nuts
that's
to
a
film that.
tough thing that you do.
Yeah.
Opening up that to the public to see that.
Yeah, because I have
Yeah.
because I have a lot of game store owners that I've talked to that I'm like, hey, this is where we're at right now. We're giving roughly, again, lower item games we're giving a couple bucks for. Like, but the higher stuff we're giving 50%. They're like, that's dumb. That's too much, Rick. That's too much, Rick. If you want to stay in business, that's too much. I'm like, well, I'm in a different situation than most people.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to treat people fairly, but then also
Me
I'm
too.
filming a lot of it.
Always want to be as like fair as possible
Right.
with people and offer the fairest price that we can offer.
Right.
And again, people can always say no to it. I've always found it's very difficult for the guy that comes in with like one game that's like, hey, I have Chrono Trigger. And he'll come up and say like, I know this is worth $120. What can you give me? And I'll be like, we can maybe give you like $50 for it, right? And he's like, this game's worth $120. You should at least give me $100. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like
That $20 is disappeared before he gives it to you.
Right. It just doesn't business wise doesn't work.
The time
for us
it'll
that
take your
way.
guy to process it and go flush the toilet, it's going to equal the
Right.
money
And so
before
it
you
just
know
doesn't work for us. And, more than welcome not to take the offer
Yeah.
that we give you. But now if that person comes in and there's a Chrono Trigger within like 1,000 other games that they have.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I'm just looking to sell all this stuff. That's when I really feel that we offer the most value.
Yeah, 'cause
to
it
the
starts to
community.
make more sense
It's
that
like,
way.
okay, I have a ton of stuff I need to offload. I'm moving or I cleared out an attic and I had all these games. Like we really offer a service. I feel like taking everything.
Yeah.
So
It is weird buying knowing that people seeing that interaction. I know Sick Cooper shows it. Scott JHMDF used to do it back in the day where you kind of show what you're getting stuff for. Here's a trade. I got this trade in. I use Caleb as an example because I've heard it from people before saying, and not even to defend him because I love to make fun of Caleb, but like people will be like in the comments like imagine being at a vendor's table telling them what you're going to resell it for. And in my brain, I'm like, imagine everyone else in the world who isn't honest telling you that they're reselling it. There is obviously collectors are buying it. But we are well aware that there's a crap ton of people who are buying stuff and then they're going to flip it. That's just part of it. They're doing it. Caleb's just being honest about it. And I've always found that respectable, but it's interesting. That's something that he's always gotten a lot of hate for. But in my brain, when I'm editing, I'm like, you're just saying what most people don't say. Like, sweet man, thanks for this. I'll probably sell it in a week. Like,
Yeah, what's hard too about, so I've been on both sides of the coin where I was praised for going to garage sales and thrift stores and being like, that's awesome. Retro Rick got that for $2. He bought NCAA 14 for $2 and he flipped it for $100. And now I'm on the other side of the coin where people are like, can you imagine if I was doing that, filming that when customers came in? I'd get eaten alive.
Yeah, you
and people
can't
are
do
like,
it.
I can't believe Retro Rick did that. So praise in one regard, and then the other regard, it's like, whoa, this is tough, you know. So,
I mean, it's not much different than like, you know, going to the flea market. You're finding stuff for $1, $2. To be honestly fair, you would have to be like, hey, by the way, this sells for $50. I think that you pricing it at $2 isn't fair. I should pay you $27 for it. But nobody would ever do that.
Ricky and I are in an interesting spot though, because we can technically get away with not saying it goes for this because we only sell on Whatnot.
Yeah.
So we don't know what it's going to go for. There is no.
it's true.
We don't know. We could get 30% of its value or 110% of the value.
Or lose.
Yeah, we've lost many
lost
times.
on
But we all know when we go to the flea markets, we have a general idea of like, okay, this is a really rare item. I'm getting it for $1. That's a
Yeah, if
steal.
it's like
right?
a Game Boy game that we all know, it's probably going to go for around this. But even then, you're not guaranteed. I'd say consoles, I get hosed on consoles.
Yeah.
I'll get like $30 on an N64. I get hosed on consoles every time on Whatnot.
We'll buy 'em.
Every time. I would make more money selling them to you.